if you want to work on Wall Street, it does not make sense for you to go to the West Coast to do your MBA. If you want to work in the Silicon Valley, if you want to work with startups, it does not make sense for you to go all the way to the East Coast to pursue your MBA. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Mansi Sangvi, and here's where we talk about career interviews and any life skills that will be important in your personal and professional life. In today's video, I'm going to share with you the exact steps to go ahead and understand how to select a university while you're going abroad for your MBA. So let's begin. I did my MBA 10 years ago in the year 2011, and when I was applying to different colleges, I was looking at a mix of things, right from a specialization in HR to a generic MBA, because I was pretty young and I wanted to have the option to sort of meddle between different types of specializations. So ultimately I chose Willamette because it had a lot of factors why I selected it. I'll reveal a bit in this particular video, but I want to walk down through the particular steps that you should be taking while you are selecting the right university for your MBA. The first one is specialization. Now, if you're somebody who's already worked for a couple years, or if you're somebody who's a working professional and your particular organization is asking you to go ahead and do an MBA, then you already know what field you want to get into. So then selecting your specialization is already a cakewalk because you already know what you're doing. For some people, it might not be the case. So if you already know what specialization you want to take, so you need to analyze if that university offers the kind of specialization to you or not. For example, now I am an MBA, and at that point there was nothing called as product management in specialization, and if I knew that, in retrospection I might have done that, as a degree, because ultimately now I'm working as a PM. There were a lot of people who came from an IT background and they were hired or recruited by different companies. Let me give you an example. My university was in Salem, Oregon, and Portland was just like an hour's drive from there. So a lot of recruiters from Nike would come on the campus to go ahead and select candidates which were good into the financial sector, marketing, IT, and so on. And that was a good opportunity for us also to talk to these recruiters and understand what is it that they're looking at when they're hiring for Nike. They always take a bunch of people who would go in as interns. They would work there as interns and then get a PPO. Once they get the PPO, they would start working full-time. Now imagine after 4, 5, 6 years, when that person is in a position to hire, where do you think they'll go back? They'll go back to their university, right? So similarly, think of what is it that that particular university is offering you. Think of if they have mentors or not, if they have opportunities to grow, if there are places where you can actually work after you graduate or not, because the geographical proximity also matters a lot. So if you want to work on Wall Street and if you're going into a university in the West Coast, it might not be as easy for you to go ahead and get a job at Wall Street. But if you're working in New York, if you're studying in New York, it might be easier for you to get a mentor who is already working in Wall Street, who might be okay to hire you as an intern and then ultimately get that job. So number one is think of the specialization that the university has to offer, and is it in line with your career or not. The second thing that we will look at is something called as the profile fit. Now the profile fit is how does your particular candidature or your profile look like, and what is it that the university has in terms of that entire profile fit or the ideal candidate structure and the persona of that particular candidate. So certain factors that you need to look at and analyze is what is the average age for each of the students in that particular class? What is the class size like? So if you are somebody who's going in for an early career MBA, then the average class size would be around, say, 24 to 25 years. If you're somebody who is more experienced, then the average age in the class would be around 30 to 31 years, and that is more so for institutes which have these executive MBA programs. So identify where do you fall in that entire category, right? So think of what is the average age for students at the university in which you're applying. The next is your own personality versus what the university has to offer. So if you're somebody who comes from a city who likes the entire hustle bustle, if you're somebody who needs to have a cafe around the corner, go to Starbucks, grab your coffee and then go to class, then going to a bigger city might make a lot of sense. Versus if you're somebody who is more calmer, you just want to focus on your studies and you just want to get things done and just be on your own and explore a lot of things and be in a smaller place, then maybe looking at a smaller class size as an average would be a better thing. When I was researching, I loved the way Willamette was structured. It is in a small village called Salem, which is the capital of Oregon. And for me, it was important to go ahead and explore myself. Like, I was very sure that I don't want to go to the East Coast because I know that there are a lot of Indian students and that you're not able to explore the whole culture. So for me, exploring the American culture, living in a cross-cultural experience was very important because I wanted to grow as a person. I was not the way I am today. Maybe that I can talk a little bit more about it in some other video. But anyways, coming back to the entire MBA process, you need to think of why is that particular college a good profile fit for you. So these are some of the factors that you will be looking at. The third thing is the geography. Where is it that you want to work after you have graduated? So taking the same example that we discussed earlier, if you want to work on Wall Street, it does not make sense for you to go to the West Coast to do your MBA. If you want to work in the Silicon Valley, if you want to work with startups, it does not make sense for you to go all the way to the East Coast to pursue your MBA. I'm not discouraging it, but in a real case, you might not be able to fly down every time there is an interview. There are a lot of things that you might be missing out on, like networking events, certain talks, a lot of things happen, right? So you want to be in the closest proximity of the city in which you want to pursue your job. So think of where is it that you see yourself working in. Also, if you're going to some other country besides US, say if you're aiming for Canada, if you're aiming for Germany, there are certain things like language which matter a lot in these particular countries. So you might want to think of starting a second language. Okay, in your spare time, start learning a second language. There's this awesome app called Duolingo. You can register yourself on that and start learning a second language, because when you graduate, when you go out for a job, they will need that specialization in German or in Spanish if you're in Canada. So these things are very important. Think of what is it that a person might need to have when they are graduating. The fourth thing is the brand name of the university. Now, if somebody walks through and tells that, hey, I'm from MIT, you will be like, oh my God, you must be really intelligent. But it is not just about being intelligent. You need to think of what is the brand value that particular university will have in your career goal. So if you're doing a certain specialization from MIT or a certain specialization from UCLA, think of what that specialization along with the brand name of the university has to offer you when you grow in your career. Because honestly, right now, there's an entire debate of should you be even doing an MBA or not, right? Now, if you are falling into the category of doing your MBA, you might as well select a certain brand which is going to set you apart from the others, because it is not just about how smart you are or what's your GMAT or what's the type of personality that you have. It's about where have you graduated from. And a lot of times when you grow up the ladder in leadership positions, big companies look at where have you graduated from. So they might need people who come only from Ivy League schools. So think of where you see yourself 10 to 15 years down the line. If you want to become a CEO of a company and in a particular sector, if you're very specific about that, think of what is it that others have done, what the ex-CEOs of that particular company or in that organization have done before. So align your overall career goals with the brand fitment that the university has to offer. The last and the final thing is the ROI, or the return on investment. Here's where you want to sit and analyze about how much is the average salary that students get after they pass out from that particular university. What is the average of the entire class? What is the passing ratio? What is the highest amount people are getting paid, and so on. All of these information will be available on the university website. And this is one of the questions that you can ask people if you are talking to them on LinkedIn as well. If you want an in-detail decision-making table on how to go about thinking of your ROI and if an MBA is worth it or not, I've made a detailed video on that as well. I will link that in one of the cards in this particular video, so you can go and check it. It is an activity-based video where you have each of the prizes or each of the things written down and broken down, and then you'll analyze yourself for the next 20 years if that MBA is going to be worth it for you or not. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate all your support, your likes, your comments. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing, because that keeps me motivated to create these videos for you guys. If you're somebody who's aspiring to go to the US, leave a comment and I'll be happy to interact with you further. Follow me on Instagram as well, because that's where I post a lot of awesome content every week. And I will see you all on YouTube next week.